Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Polish supporters were disappointed after Poland lost to France 3-1 on Sunday, ending their World Cup campaign in the round of 16. Hundreds of fans gathered in a fan zone established in the Elektrownia Powieśla food hall in central Warsaw, with some French supporters among them. Polish supporter Aleksandra Ambrosiak said they deserved a better outcome. I think they played well. It should have been 3-2.
And I thought it was a good game, very entertaining. Poland did everything they could. It was just a lot of fun to watch. Yeah. Mais vive la France, bien sûr. Woo!
We didn't really have any much chances. I just wanted to see more. I wanted to see a little bit more. I was expecting Poland to win 5-1, but I'm an optimist, so I always expect a lot out of our Polish guys, But it's hard to say. It's just really tough.
Actually, I'm half Polish. Like my dad has Polish origins and my mom is French. So I was like, if Poland win, it's all good. If France win, it's all good. But it was really good match to watch, also with French friends and so on.
France, who now face England for a spot in the last four, scored on the stroke of half-time as Olivier Giroud became their all-time record scorer with 52 goals, before Kylian Mbappe's late screamers sealed Poland's fate and put the 23-year-old at the top of the scoring chart with 5 goals and 2 assists. Poland, in the knockout stage for the first time since 1986 and looking for a first quarter-final appearance since 1982, had a huge chance in the first half. But the France midfield did a great job of cutting the feeding line to Robert Lewandowski, who reduced the arrears with a twice-taken last-second penalty. Georgian President Salome Zurabishvili is visiting Poland. The regional situation, Euro integration and Russian aggression against Ukraine were the main topics of her conversation with the Polish President Andrzej Duda. The conversation also touched on traditional Polish-Georgian ties and economic cooperation. And today, both the President and I are fully aware that it is necessary to stand firm in defence of Ukraine. This Ukraine about which President Lech Kaczynski said at the time that if we do not stop the Russians attacking Georgia, Ukraine will be attacked in the future. This is what is happening today, and for this reason, so that there are no more wars, so that there is no more aggression, this Russian aggression must be blocked by the international community. This Russian aggression must be repulsed, and today, with all our might, the Ukrainians must be assisted in this. I thank you very much, Madam President, also for the humanitarian aid, which is also sent under the auspices of Madam President from Georgia to the Ukrainians, to Ukraine. For our part, of course, we also send military support as a neighbour, but also as a state of the North Atlantic Alliance. And we generally support all the efforts of the international community to support Ukraine. Once again, Russia has shown its true face and its imperialist inclinations. It is already the 10th month that we see a cruel and unlawful war against Ukraine, against its independence and territorial integrity. Georgia knows what price Ukraine is paying for freedom and independence, because Georgia already paid that price in 2008. We don't have to care about Russia's well-being, but about the well-being of the countries that neighbour it. A large number of missiles were fired towards Ukraine today. They were launched from strategic bombers and ships in the Black Sea. The latest strike comes just after Ukrainian drones attacked Russian bases, damaging 2 bombers according to unconfirmed information. Ukrainian authorities are appealing to people not to ignore the air raid alerts. At noon, the Russians launched a massive missile attack on Ukrainian territory. Authorities in Kyiv reported 2 fatalities. Parts of the country have been cut off from power supplies. Mainly the south of Ukraine and the central part of Ukraine were attacked. For example, such cities as Vinnytsia and Zaporizhia. A sizable portion of these missiles were intercepted by Ukrainian air defense systems, so the scale of damage is relatively smaller. The Russian attack began a few hours after an explosion occurred this morning at an airport near Ryazan. A gasoline tanker exploded at the site. At least 3 people were killed as a result of the explosion. A similar incident occurred in Saratov, where 2 Tu-95 strategic bombers were damaged. Ukrainian authorities do not admit to carrying out the attacks. Did Ukraine use former Russian drones to inflict such strikes, or a different type of drone it acquired? We don't know, but certainly this strike comes as a huge surprise to the Russian Federation. Meanwhile, the European Union embargo on Russian oil went into effect today. The maximum price of crude oil was set at $60 a barrel. The mechanism was agreed upon in consultation with the G7 countries and Australia. However, the Kremlin made it clear that it does not intend to abide by this restriction. The Russians are threatening to turn off the oil tap, but in so doing they will chop off their own hand. because half of Russian revenues come from the sale of hydrocarbons, and the bulk of it is from the sale of oil. So Putin's gas station can, of course, close at its own request. But it will be like with gas. It will be pushed out of the European market. And even more so, the Anglo-Saxons can do without Russian oil. Despite the crimes committed by the Russians, for some world leaders, more important than winning the war is Ukraine simply ending the war as soon as possible. In a recent interview, Emmanuel Macron somehow justified Russian aggression with alleged NATO-induced concerns. The French president also admitted that he is in constant contact with Vladimir Putin.
I always maintain regular discussions and direct contact with President Putin, because I believe that the best way to re-engage is to preserve this direct channel.
The German Chancellor is also seeking dialogue with Russia. The French president and I, as representatives of the G7 countries and as representatives of the 2 NATO countries, are seeking dialogue. However, we do so without illusions, because these are always long conversations during which we listen to yet another justification of the war in Ukraine, which Putin repeats in the media. After what Putin has done, he is considered a man who is not worthy to sit in international bodies. We have a European Union resolution declaring Russia a sponsor of terrorism. The place of Putin, Lavrov and anyone who helped him is a trial in The Hague. Yesterday, the European Commission consulted with member countries on more sanctions on Russia. A ban on the sale of drones to Russia is one of the next restrictions to be imposed on the Kremlin in the near future. The largest trial in Belgian history began on Monday with 10 men accused of involvement in Islamicist suicide bombings in Brussels in 2016 that killed 32 people and injured over 300. Set to last 7 months, the trial revived painful memories for those who lost loved ones, were injured or witnessed the twin bombings at the airport and a third bomb on the metro on the 22nd of March 2016. 9 of the accused are charged with multiple murders and attempted murders in a terrorist context and face potential life sentences. One of the group is presumed to have been killed in Syria and is being tried in absentia. Presiding Judge Laurence Massard confirmed the identity of the defendants and outlined the trial schedule. I believe that it will be the violence of the debates which will be the difficulty of this trial. It is necessary to expect anything to happen, apparently. Mohamed Abrini, who prosecutors say fled the airport without detonating his suitcase of explosives, then interrupted her to complain about the conditions of his daily transport from jail. If strip searches, blindfolds and satanic music played through headphones continued, he said, he would refuse to answer any questions. Lawyers for other accused also complained, saying that this had not happened in a parallel trial in Paris. The defendants are already complaining about their detention and transfer conditions. Once again, I think these are conditions that are normal for me. This said, that's it. There's always something to say or to do so that we can get under the spotlight. I would say that they always have to assert themselves. They always need to be noticed in order to postpone the hearings. Lubna Selassie, whose husband was an airport baggage handler and lost a leg in the bombings, said Abrini's complaint had been hard to hear. There was an intervention by Abrini, one of the defendants. It is a particularly difficult moment because he calls into question the dignity of the defendants. And that has nothing to do with it, but I always want to bring it back to the victims because we have been suffering for 6 years, almost 7 years. We don't talk about our dignity. We have to fight every day. We have to assert our rights. We always have to justify ourselves, and that's where it hurts. 6 of the accused were found guilty in June of involvement in the terror attacks in Paris in November 2015, which killed 130 people. However, the Belgian trial will be different in that it will be determined by a jury and not by judges. The Islamic State claimed responsibility for the Brussels bombings, which caused the death of 15 men and 17 women, who came from Belgium, the United States, the Netherlands, Sweden, Great Britain, China, France, Germany, India, Peru and Poland, many of them based in the city which is a home to European Union institutions and NATO. The trial in the former headquarters of NATO is estimated to cost at least €35 million. That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.